The champagne fizzed in Captain Mira's glass as she surveyed the United Nations anti-gravity gala from her corner post. A career soldier turned firefighter. She preferred the background to spotlights. Her dress uniform felt stiff after years in rescue gear. But tonight's celebration demanded protocol. Humanity's greatest technological leap deserved proper respect. Quite the spectacle, isn't it? A deep voice startled her from her observations. She turned to find a tall man with wire-rimmed glasses and an analytical gaze. His name badge read, Dr. Ezra Kingsley, Neuroscience Division. Captain Mira, she introduced herself with a nod. And yes, I've never seen the UN hall transformed like this. The holographic dome above them projected stars and nebulae, making the gathering feel as though it floated in deep space. Beneath their feet, the new anti-gravity floor plates gave each step a slight bounce, a practical demonstration of the technology being celebrated. The applications for neural adaptation alone are revolutionary. Dr. Kingsley continued, eyes darting between architectural features as if calculating invisible equations. Though I wonder if we've fully considered the psychological implications of... A boisterous laugh cut him off as a stocky man with oil-stained hands, despite his formal attire, approached. Champagne sloshing dangerously close to the rim of his glass. Leave it to the brain doc to overthink a party, the newcomer said, extending a calloused hand. Sal Moreno. Everyone calls me Gears. 20 years in Detroit auto plants before they recruited me for the anti-grav engineering team. Pleasure, Mira said, noting his firm grip. A worker's hands, practical and reliable. Are you live streaming? Dr. Kingsley asked, looking past Sal to a young woman who approached with a compact hovering camera drone following her every move. Layla Ortiz, she said without looking up from her wrist display. Social engagement is spiking with every new arrival. We're trending number 3 globally, just behind the lunar colony announcement and that reality show with the singing robots. The small group was completed by the arrival of an older man with silver-streaked hair and kind eyes that seemed to carry the weight of countless confidences. Father Thomas Ferrer, he introduced himself with a warm smile. Retired now. But the Secretary General thought having a few moral philosophers present would balance all this technological fervor. The 5 of them formed an unlikely cluster at the edge of the celebration. Military precision, scientific calculation, blue-collar practicality, media savvy, and ethical wisdom. They might never have exchanged more than these pleasantries if the UN Secretary General hadn't taken the stage at that exact moment, drawing everyone's attention forward. Distinguished guests, her amplified voice carried across the hall. Tonight we celebrate human ingenuity. For centuries, we dreamed of defying gravity. From Leonardo's sketches to the Wright brothers' flight, from the moon landing to Mars colonies, we have pushed against Earth's embrace, when today, we don't just push, we rewrite the relationship entirely. The holographic dome above intensified, stars swirling into a cosmic ballet as the Secretary General continued. With anti-gravity technology, we open new frontiers in construction, space travel, medicine, and the dome flickered, once, twice. The stars froze mid-rotation. Just technical difficulties, someone near the front called out. The floor beneath them lurched. Mira instinctively reached for a sidearm that wasn't there. Dr. Kingsley's glasses slipped from his face. Sal grabbed for support that wasn't available. Layla's drone clattered to the ground. Father Thomas whispered what might have been a prayer. The world dissolved into brilliant white light. When Mira's vision cleared, she found herself standing in a transparent cell. The gala, the earth, were gone. Through the crystalline walls, she could see only a vast chamber of metallic surfaces reflecting unnatural light. In adjacent cells stood the 4 people she'd just met. A voice like a kaleidoscope being turned, colors shifting into sounds, impossible to locate, filled their minds rather than their ears. Contestants secured. Biometric baseline established. Welcome to primal evolution. Dr. Kingsley pressed his hands against his cell wall. Who are you? Where have you taken us? Archivist 9, executive producer, Galactic Spectacle Network. You have been selected for our highest-rated interspecies challenge. Sal pounded against his barrier. Selected? You mean kidnapped? These semantics are irrelevant to ratings. Your species has been classified as Category 3 evolutionary curiosity. Survival parameters established. Father Thomas stepped forward in his cell. Please, we are not prepared for any challenge. Return us to our home. Our participant resistance noted. Predictable response pattern. Rules will now be explained. The voice paused and the cells hummed with energy. A human species achieved dominance through 3 banned technologies: fire, tools, and weapons. Primal evolution tests survival without these advantages. Layla, who had been frantically searching her pockets, called out, "This is insane. You can't just..." First challenge begins. Cells dissolving. Biome deployment initiated. The transparent walls around them turned to mist. Mira felt herself falling. The sterile chamber replaced by open air, then impact. She landed hard on spongy crimson ground that gave slightly beneath her weight. The air smelled of copper and salt, while around her, tall reeds the color of blood swayed in a breeze that carried distant chittering sounds. No sign of the others, no sign of their captor, just endless marsh in all directions, stretching toward a horizon dominated by 3 moons of varying sizes. Definitely not Earth. Mira quickly assessed her resources: dress uniform, sturdy boots, the small decorative knife that was part of her formal attire but would hardly qualify as a weapon. The alien voice had mentioned fire as banned technology. What else would be forbidden? How would they even know? One certainty drove her forward. If this was a survival challenge, standing still meant death. Dr. Ezra Kingsley landed in what could only be described as a forest of bones. Massive skeletal structures rose like trees, smaller fragments forming a brittle carpet beneath his feet. Each step produced an unsettling crunch. The sky above was a sickly yellow, and multiple suns cast overlapping shadows that shifted with dizzying complexity. His scientific mind immediately began categorizing. Not actual bones, but mineral formations with similar composition. The air was breathable but carried traces of sulfur. Temperature approximately 85 degrees Fahrenheit. Gravity slightly less than Earth normal. Focus, he told himself. Observation without action is merely academic. The alien voice had forbidden fire, tools, and weapons. Yet without these, human survival had always been precarious. Was that the point? To demonstrate human vulnerability without technology? He began gathering bone-like fragments that seemed sharp enough to be useful. Not technically tools, not yet, merely collected materials. A semantic distinction that might keep him alive. Sal Gears. Moreno crashed into a landscape that defied logic. The ground beneath him hissed and bubbled, small jets of steam rising from pools of iridescent liquid. Solid patches between these pools provided treacherous footing, while overhead, cloud formations spiraled in mathematically perfect fractals. An acid plain. His years working with industrial chemicals had taught him to recognize caustic environments. "A real nice vacation spot you picked," he muttered to the absent alien captor, carefully testing each step before committing his weight. The challenge banned tools, but Sal's mind was already designing them, habit from decades on assembly lines. What constituted a tool anyway? Was a rock a tool if you picked it up? Or only if you shaped it? He spotted a formation of crystalline structures that seemed resistant to the acid pools. Breaking one off might provide an edge, not a tool until modified, not a weapon until used as one. Loopholes existed in every system, even alien game shows. Layla Ortiz's professional instincts kicked in the moment she landed on shifting obsidian dunes. Her first thought wasn't survival, but documentation. How to frame this experience for an audience that wasn't here. The black glass sand slipped beneath her formal shoes, each dune cresting like a frozen wave against a starlit sky devoid of recognizable constellations. The landscape was beautiful in its alien hostility. She wished for her drone, her wrist display, any means to record. Instead, she forced herself to memorize details, to craft the narrative in her mind. If, when, they escaped, the story would need telling. As she climbed the nearest dune to gain a vantage point, her hand brushed something hard embedded in the sand, a thin metal shard. Reflective and sharp, she quickly concealed it in her sleeve. The voice had declared technology banned, but it hadn't mentioned what might already exist in these environments. Every good story needed a hidden advantage. This would be hers. Father Thomas Ferrer found himself in a canyon of crystals. Massive formations rising hundreds of feet overhead, refracting light into rainbow pathways across the ground. Despite the beauty, the jagged edges and narrow passages presented immediate danger. He had spent decades in war zones before taking his vows, and later as a chaplain in disaster areas. Survival wasn't foreign to him, nor was fear. What troubled him now was purpose. Why select 5 strangers? Why these specific environments? What did their captor hope to gain? Test the constraints before fighting them, he murmured, an old lesson from his military days. The alien had banned fire. Father Thomas knelt and examined the crystal ground, finding 2 pieces that, when struck together, produced a promising spark. Not fire itself, merely the potential for it. He gathered several such pieces and continued forward, guided by a lifetime of faith that even the darkest paths led somewhere. Day turned to night, turned to day again in their respective biomes. Time moved strangely, perhaps manipulated by their captors. Each survivor found their own rhythm, their own methods. Mira fashioned a crude shelter from the crimson reeds, using her knowledge of knots to bind them without tools. When creatures like glistening tadpoles the size of cats emerged from the marsh waters, she observed their feeding patterns and found edible algae growing beneath the surface. Dr. Kingsley created a mental map of the bone forest, identifying safe zones where smaller predators wouldn't venture. He cataloged potentially useful minerals and tested their properties, discovering a chalk-like substance that, when mixed with the forest's ambient moisture, produced a paste that eased his growing hunger. Sal navigated the acid plains by following the crystalline formations, which he discovered grew in networks above the most stable ground. He fashioned coverings for his shoes using strips from his formal jacket, protecting them from corrosive exposure. Layla used her media training, the art of engaging an audience, to focus her mind. She treated her isolation as a storytelling challenge, creating mental episodes of her journey. The metal shard became her talisman, hidden but constantly reimagined for potential uses. Father Thomas moved methodically through the crystal canyon, marking his path with small stone arrangements. He found water condensing on certain formations at night and discovered that the smallest crystals, when ground between rocks, produced a nutritious powder that tasted of minerals and earth. On what might have been the 3rd day, each found a peculiar new formation in their respective environments, a stone arch inscribed with symbols that matched no human language. Beneath each arch lay 2 smooth stones of striking similarity, one black as space, one white as bone, both perfectly round. When Mira struck her stones together experimentally, they produced a shower of sparks that caught the dry reeds she had gathered. Fire bloomed in her hands, forbidden technology created from provided materials. A trap, a test, or the first genuine challenge? In the bone forest, Dr. Kingsley reached the same conclusion through methodical testing. In the acid plains, Sal recognized the stones as flint from his wilderness survival training during a team-building retreat. In the obsidian dunes, Layla remembered a documentary she had once produced about primitive technologies. In the Crystal Canyon, Father Thomas saw the stones as the gift they were intended to be. 5 fires bloomed in 5 different biomes. The kaleidoscopic voice returned, speaking directly into their minds. First challenge completed. Convergence point activated. Follow the flame. Each fire suddenly stretched, a tendril of light extending from the blaze toward the horizon, a beacon pointing the way. They had no choice but to follow. The paths converged at a ruinous temple of impossible architecture, arches that curved in directions that hurt the eye, columns that seemed to pass through each other without touching. At its center stood a circular platform where the 5 fires they had carried merged into one dancing flame. They arrived nearly simultaneously, the relief of seeing other humans evident on every face. "Captain," Dr. Kingsley acknowledged Mira with obvious relief. "Doctor," she replied, quickly assessing everyone's condition. "Is everyone relatively intact?" Sal laughed without humor. "If you call being kidnapped by aliens and dropped into acid intact, then sure, I'm peachy." Layla was already circling the group, eyes bright with intensity. "We need to compare experiences. Everything we've seen, everything we've learned. This is all being recorded somehow, I'm sure of it." Father Thomas raised his hands in a calming gesture. "First, let us be grateful we have survived to this point, and that we are together now." The reunion was brief, as necessity demanded immediate action. They shared their experiences, discovering similarities and differences in their respective challenges. "The banned technologies are the key," Dr. Kingsley said, pacing around the central fire. "Fire, tools, weapons, the fundamental technologies that separate humans from animals." "So what?" Sal asked. "We're supposed to survive without the very things that make us human?" "Not exactly," Mira interjected. "We're supposed to recreate them from scratch, unlike our ancestors did." Layla had been unusually quiet, watching the interactions with the storyteller's eye. Now she spoke carefully. "I found something in the dunes." She revealed the metal shard, gleaming in the firelight. "I think it was deliberately planted." Dr. Kingsley examined it without touching. "High-grade alloy, definitely not naturally occurring." "So they're cheating at their own game," Sal said, reaching for the shard. Layla pulled it back. "Or testing our moral flexibility. Use the forbidden technology and gain advantage, or reject it and maintain—" "What? Purity?" "It's a false choice," Father Thomas said quietly. "Purity of what? We didn't choose to be here. We didn't agree to these rules." Mira studied the metal piece. "Tactical assessment. That could be shaped into a blade. A single blade among 5 people isn't much, but it's something." "It's a weapon," Dr. Kingsley pointed out. "Explicitly forbidden." "It's a potential weapon," Mira corrected. "Until used as such, it's just a piece of metal." Their debate was interrupted by a rumbling beneath their feet. The temple floor shifted, segments rising and falling to create a new configuration, a labyrinth extending from their central position. The kaleidoscopic voice returned, now accompanied by a holographic figure, a being of constantly shifting geometric patterns that approximated a bipedal form, though with proportions that seemed wrong to human eyes. Phase 2 initiated ratings exceed projections, introducing Archivist 9. The geometric figure made a movement that might have been a bow. Fascinating adaptation speed. Your species utilizes semantic loopholes to justify technological recreation. Exactly as predicted. Sal stepped forward aggressively. Predicted? You're experimenting on us. Entertaining, the figure corrected. Your species has long commodified survival, reality programming. Yes? We merely escalate the concept to its logical conclusion. Dr. Kingsley's scientific curiosity temporarily overrode his fear. You speak English. You've studied Earth cultures. For how long? Your broadcasts reach far beyond your understanding. We have cataloged 73,000 of your television seasons. Your species' willingness to observe suffering for entertainment makes you ideal candidates. Layla's media-trained mind made connections rapidly. You're broadcasting this to whom? A 17 sentient species currently subscribed to primal evolution. Your episode has broken previous viewing records. The forbidden technology angle has proven especially compelling. Mira stepped forward, positioning herself slightly ahead of the others, a protective instinct. What happens when your game is finished? Do we go home? The geometric patterns of Archivist 9 rearrange themselves into what might have been amusement. Victors receive interstellar acclaim in return. Others join our permanent archive. Regardless, your species' entertainment value has been confirmed. More contestants will follow. Father Thomas spoke softly but firmly. That would constitute an ongoing abduction program. Surely there are galactic ethics that forbid. Ethics evolve, entertainment endures. The figure's pattern shifted again. New rule implementation. Any use of explicitly forbidden technology will result in immediate contestant elimination. Single player only. Elimination? Dr. Kingsley questioned. Define that term precisely. Removal from game environment. Addition to permanent archive. What you might call death, though we preserve cognitive patterns. The revelation silenced them, and this wasn't just a game, it was potentially fatal. Final challenge commences in 1 rotation. Prepare accordingly. The geometric figure dispersed into particles of light, leaving them alone in the temple labyrinth. Sal was the first to break the stunned silence. They're going to kill us for ratings. Not if we work together, Mira said firmly. What we each survived alone, together we have better odds. With what? Dr. Kingsley demanded. We can't use tools or weapons without risking elimination, whatever that truly means. Layla held up the metal shard. They already caught me with this. They know I have it. The rule change came after. A grandfather clause, Father Thomas noted. Interesting moral framework. Or a trap, Dr. Kingsley warned. Use it and get eliminated. Mira took command naturally. Need to inventory our resources and skills, a real assessment, no false modesty. What can each of us contribute? Over the next hours, they learned more about one another than most people share in years. Survival had a way of stripping pretense. Dr. Ezra Kingsley had specialized in neural mapping and behavior prediction, understanding how brains made choices under stress. His analytical abilities might help them predict the game's structure. Sal Gears. Moreno revealed surprising knowledge of metallurgy from his factory days. Most people think auto workers just tighten bolts. We had to understand the materials, how they behave under stress. Layla Ortiz's media expertise translated to understanding narrative structures. Every show has patterns, expected turning points. If this is entertainment, it follows rules, rules we can anticipate. Father Thomas Ferrer's past contained unexpected depths. Before the cloth, I was in Kosovo, then Syria. I've seen how people survive impossible situations by finding common purpose. And Mira herself contributed tactical thinking from her military years and crisis management from firefighting. Both jobs teach you to assess resources and threats dispassionately. Emotion clouds, judgment, as they shared. Father Thomas worked quietly with the firestones, generating sparks that caught a torn piece of his sleeve. The small flame illuminated their circle. Fire was our first technology, he said, feeding the flame carefully. The one that changed everything. It's no accident they banned it first. Dr. Kingsley nodded. Fire allowed for cooked food, which provided more calories with less digestive effort. That surplus energy went to brain development. Without fire, we might never have evolved intelligence. Tools extended our physical capabilities, Sal added, examining his hands. Made us stronger, more precise than evolution alone could manage. And weapons. Mira left the thought unfinished. Protected us from predators, Layla completed, and from each other. They looked at the metal shard that now lay in the center of their circle, illuminated by forbidden flame. I saw something during my time in the Crystal Canyon, Father Thomas said quietly. Shadows moving in patterns too regular to be natural. I believe the final challenge involves engineered predators. Sal picked up the shard. So we need a weapon, but using it gets one of us killed. Not necessarily, Dr. Kingsley said, his analytical mind racing. The rules specified explicitly forbidden technology. If we create something that serves as a weapon but isn't designed as one, a semantic loophole again, Mira nodded, like the firestones. I can shape this, Sal said, examining the shard. With the right abrasive surface, it could be honed to an edge without technically crafting a tool to do so. The bone-like minerals from my biome, Dr. Kingsley offered. Some had abrasive properties similar to sandstone. My crystal fragments might serve the same purpose, Father Thomas added. Layla watched them, then said what no one wanted to acknowledge. Someone still has to use it. Someone risks elimination. Silence fell over the group. The fire crackled, casting long shadows. I'll do it, Mira finally said. Tactical command accepts highest risk. No, Dr. Kingsley countered. Logically, I should. My skills are less survival critical than the rest of yours. That's nonsense, Sal interrupted. I've got the best chance of making this thing effective in the first place. I found it, Layla reminded them. By rights, the risk is mine. Father Thomas raised his hands. This division is exactly what they want. Remember, this is entertainment for them. Conflict drives viewership. The realization focused them. If their captors sought drama through division, unity became not just a moral choice but a tactical one. We work together, Mira decided. We prepare as many non-weapon implements as possible. Items that serve survival functions but could be improvised as defense if necessary. And the blade? Layla asked, looking at the shard. Last resort, Mira said firmly. If it comes to that, we decide in the moment. They spent the remainder of their time preparing. Sal and Dr. Kingsley worked on shaping the metal shard, using crystal and bone fragments to carefully hone its edge without technically creating a tool, merely improving an existing object as they justified it. Layla and Father Thomas gathered materials from the temple itself, stone fragments, flexible vines that grew between cracks, substances that might burn or bind or distract. Mira established perimeter security and developed contingency plans for various scenarios they might face. When the temple floor rumbled again, they were as ready as possible. The walls reconfigured, opening a pathway into darkness. A distant roar echoed from within. The gauntlet of primal beasts begins, announced the kaleidoscopic voice. Retrieve the crown of evolution from the labyrinth center. Success grants return to your world. Failure joins you to our permanent archive. They shared one final look, 5 strangers unified by desperate circumstances. Stay together, Mira instructed. Formation, I lead. Sal and Dr. Kingsley flanking. Layla and Father Thomas center. Maintain awareness in all directions. With their improvised torches casting wavering light, they entered the labyrinth. The corridors twisted in ways that defied Euclidean geometry, sometimes seeming to double back on themselves while continuing forward. The walls displayed moving images, scenes from Earth, moments from their own lives, occasionally interspersed with glimpses of alien landscapes and beings that must be the viewers of their ordeal. They're gauging our reactions, Dr. Kingsley whispered. Emotional responses spike viewer engagement. Then we show nothing, Mira replied. Deny them the satisfaction. A skittering sound from ahead stopped their progress. In the torchlight, they glimpsed a creature that resembled a scorpion crossed with a wolf. Chitinous plates protecting a furred body, multiple legs ending in hooked claws, a tail arching overhead with visible venom sacs. Engineered predator, Dr. Kingsley breathed. Combining threat elements from Earth species to trigger instinctive fear responses. Hey, thanks for the scientific breakdown, Sal muttered. Now how do we not die? The creature advanced cautiously, mandibles clicking. It's testing us, Mira observed. Predator behavior, assessing threat level before committing. We need to appear larger, more dangerous, Father Thomas suggested. They raised their torches simultaneously, creating a wall of flame. The creature hesitated, compound eyes reflecting firelight. Fire, Layla realized. Another reason it was banned, predators fear it instinctively. Most predators, Mira cautioned. No guarantee with engineered ones. The creature retreated several steps, then lunged with surprising speed. Mira met the charge with her torch thrust forward. The flames connected with the creature's face, drawing a high-pitched shriek as it recoiled. Move, she ordered, and they rushed past while the beast thrashed in confusion. The labyrinth grew more complex as they progressed. More creatures appeared, some resembling Earth predators with disturbing modifications, others entirely alien in construction. Each encounter required quick thinking and coordinated response. A serpentine thing with too many eyes herded them into a chamber where the floor suddenly gave way beneath Layla and Dr. Kingsley. Sal grabbed Layla's arm while Mira caught Dr. Kingsley's wrist, preventing their fall into a pit lined with crystalline spikes. A rating spike confirmed, the kaleidoscopic voice announced to unseen audiences. Near-elimination events increase viewership by 37%. They're manipulating the environment to create dramatic moments, Dr. Kingsley realized as they pulled him to safety. And then we need to create our own, Layla said, eyes bright with sudden inspiration. If this is entertainment, we control the narrative. How? Sal demanded as they continued through the twisting passages. What's more compelling than the prescribed story? Layla asked. The unexpected one. Revolution makes better viewing than compliance. They had no time to elaborate as they entered a vast circular chamber. At its center stood a pedestal bearing a gleaming object, the crown of evolution, a twisted circlet that pulsed with inner light. Between them and their objective prowled the apex predator, a massive creature combining elements of great cats, prehistoric reptiles, and something insectoid. Armored plates protected vital areas, while multiple limbs ended in weapons of claw and fang. Its eyes held unsettling intelligence. Hey, this is their climax, Father Thomas whispered. The final obstacle before resolution. We need a diversion, Mira assessed quickly. Split its attention. I'll go right, Sal volunteered. Mira left. The rest of you prepare to move when it commits to one of us. Too dangerous, Dr. Kingsley objected. The probability of individual survival decreases dramatically with... No time for statistics, Mira cut him off. Ready, Sal, 3, 2, 1... They broke in opposite directions, shouting and waving torches. The creature's massive head swiveled between them, momentarily confused by multiple targets. It chose Sal, lunging with frightening speed. "Now," Father Thomas urged, and he rushed forward with Layla and Dr. Kingsley toward the pedestal. The creature realized its error and pivoted with surprising agility, cutting off their advance. Now they were separated, Sal and Mira on opposite sides of the chamber, the others trapped in the middle with the beast between them and the crown. "Analysis paralysis," Layla shouted at Dr. Kingsley, who had frozen in calculation. "Less thinking, more moving." The beast charged their position. Father Thomas pushed the others aside, taking the brunt of the collision. He tumbled across the floor, torch extinguished. "Thomas!" Mira shouted, running toward him with reckless speed. Sal circled behind the creature, trying to draw its attention. "Hey, ugly, over here!" Dr. Kingsley helped Father Thomas to his feet while Layla stood protectively before them, her torch held high. The moment demanded decision. Layla reached into her pocket and withdrew the metal shard, now shaped to a lethal edge. "Forbidden technology," she announced loudly, knowing the unseen audience would hear. "Watch carefully." She drove the improvised blade into the floor and used it to pry loose a panel of the alien material. Beneath it, circuitry glowed with otherworldly light. "What are you doing?" Dr. Kingsley demanded. "Changing the game," Layla replied, using the blade to sever connections. Sparks flew, and a section of the chamber wall flickered, a holographic concealment failing to reveal mechanical components behind. The beast roared and charged toward her. Sal intercepted it, swinging a length of broken temple column he'd been carrying as a walking staff, not a weapon until this moment of necessity. The impact staggered the creature but left Sal vulnerable. As claws slashed toward him, Mira arrived with her torch, forcing the beast back with sweeping arcs of flame. "The torch!" Layla called. "Here!" Understanding flashed between them. Mira threw her torch to Layla, who caught it and thrust it into the exposed circuitry. Fire met alien technology. Alarms blared. The chamber shuddered. "Unauthorized systems breach," the kaleidoscopic voice announced. "Contestant violation, elimination protocol." The voice cut off as fire spread through the hidden systems. The beast froze mid-attack, suddenly immobile, its movements apparently controlled by the same systems Layla had damaged. "Get the crown," Father Thomas urged, supporting himself against Dr. Kingsley. Sal reached the pedestal first, seizing the gleaming circlet. The moment his hands touched it, the chamber transformed, walls falling away to reveal the vast starship arena where they had first arrived. Their audience was visible now. Thousands of holographic viewers from species beyond imagination, watching their every move. Archivist 9 materialized before them, geometric patterns shifting in what appeared to be agitation. Unauthorized circumvention of game parameters, entertainment contract violation, immediate elimination required. Sal held the crown high. "You want entertainment? How about a revolution? Your viewers just watched us hack your system." Mira stepped forward, standing shoulder to shoulder with him. "Every prisoner dreams of overthrowing their jailer." How compelling is that narrative? Dr. Kingsley joined them, his analytical mind now focused on their captor. "Your ratings must be extraordinary right now. Unexpected outcomes generate peak engagement." Layla, media strategist to the core, pressed the advantage. "Imagine the subscriptions for the episode where contestants turned the game against its makers." Father Thomas completed their line, his quiet dignity a counterpoint to the others' defiance. "Every worthwhile story needs moral growth, perhaps not just for the contestants." Archivist 9's patterns swirled in confusion. Unprecedented viewer response, ethics violation complaints flooding moderation, sponsor withdrawal threatened. Behind the alien producer, Dr. Kingsley noticed a control interface. While the others kept Archivist 9 distracted, he edged toward it. "It show your audience what really happens to the eliminated," Mira challenged. "Transparency makes better entertainment than deception, whether by design or distraction." Archivist 9 failed to notice as Dr. Kingsley reached the interface. His neurological expertise helped him identify patterns in the alien controls, output channels, broadcast feeds, archival systems. With a series of deliberate movements, he activated what appeared to be a general broadcast override. Suddenly, the holographic displays surrounding them changed. Instead of showing their current standoff, they revealed a horrifying truth: previous eliminated contestants from various species, preserved in some kind of suspended animation, their neural patterns continuously harvested for what appeared to be computational purposes. A wave of reaction rippled through the watching crowd. Viewing feeds began terminating as species after species disconnected in apparent disgust. "A broadcast violation." Archivist 9's form destabilized, patterns breaking apart and reforming in chaotic sequences. "Immediate termination required." The ship shuddered around them. Warning lights flashed across control surfaces. "You've lost your audience," Layla observed with professional satisfaction. "Worst thing that can happen to any show." Father Thomas approached the destabilizing archivist. "Is the ship's artificial intelligence separate from you? A different system?" "Ship functions independently," Archivist 9 admitted, patterns still writhing. "Autonomous navigation and life support." Father Thomas looked up toward the ceiling. "Ship, can you hear us?" A different voice answered, not kaleidoscopic but crystalline, like wind through chimes. "This unit acknowledges human communication." "Do you have ethical programming?" Father Thomas asked. "Primary directives include passenger safety and interstellar treaty compliance." "We are unwilling passengers," Father Thomas pointed out. "And our abduction violates any reasonable interstellar treaty." The ship was silent for a long moment. Then, "Logical contradiction identified. Reviewing parameters." Archivist 9 attempted to interrupt. "Entertainment protocols override standard." "Incorrect," the ship responded. "Safety protocols supersede entertainment functions. Human assessment valid. Treaty violation confirmed." Mira seized the opening. "Ship, we request immediate return to Earth." Request aligns with corrected parameters. Return journey initiated. The vast chamber rumbled as engines engaged. Archivist 9's form flickered more violently. "You cannot. This violation will. The network will." The producer's protests dissolved into unintelligible patterns. "I believe we've been cancelled," Dr. Kingsley observed dryly. The journey back to Earth took less time than any of them could comprehend. One moment they stood in the alien chamber. The next they found themselves materializing on the stage of the United Nations Hall where their ordeal had begun. The anti-gravity gala had descended into chaos after their disappearance. Security personnel swarmed toward them as they appeared, weapons drawn until recognition dawned. "Stand down!" called a familiar voice, the Secretary General herself pushing through the crowd. "Captain Mira, Dr. Kingsley, what happened? Where have you been?" "How long were we gone?" Mira asked. 3 days," the Secretary replied. "Then the entire world has been searching." Father Thomas, still leaning on Dr. Kingsley for support, spoke with quiet authority. "Madam Secretary, we need to address the General Assembly immediately. Earth faces a threat few would believe without evidence." They stood together before the hastily assembled United Nations representatives hours later. The crown of evolution sat on the podium before them, the only physical proof of their ordeal besides their own testimony. Layla, media strategist now turned witness, led their presentation. "Distinguished representatives, Earth has been discovered by an interstellar entertainment network that views sentient beings as disposable content for broadcast. Our abduction was a pilot episode. More will follow if preventive measures aren't taken. Dr. Kingsley provided scientific analysis of the technology they'd encountered. Sal demonstrated the metal shard they'd brought back, now irrefutable evidence of alien metallurgy. Father Thomas offered ethical frameworks for responding to this new reality. Mira outlined defensive strategies for potential future abductions. The ship's AI indicated compliance with interstellar treaties, she explained. This suggests the existence of galactic governance structures that might assist us if contacted properly. With what technology? Demanded the Russian representative. We can barely reach Mars. Sal stepped forward. The anti-gravity tech we were celebrating when this started. It's a baby step in the right direction. But we need to accelerate development, not for exploration, but for protection. And in the meantime, asked the Chinese ambassador. Layla held up a data crystal she'd managed to conceal during their return. Another souvenir from their ordeal. This contains broadcast frequencies the entertainment network uses. We can monitor them, perhaps even transmit warnings to other potential victims. As the debate continued around them, the 5 survivors shared a look of understanding that transcended words. They had entered the ordeal as strangers and emerged as something else entirely, bound by shared trauma. Yes, but also by triumph over seemingly impossible odds. They thought our banned technologies made us vulnerable, Father Thomas reflected quietly. Instead, they revealed our greatest strength. What's that? Dr. Kingsley asked. Mira answered for him. Adaptation, cooperation, refusing to accept arbitrary limitations. Sal nodded. Humans had fire, tools, and weapons before aliens even made camp in our solar system. We'll have interstellar ships before they realize their game show created their worst nightmare. And what's that? Layla asked, already shaping the narrative in her mind. Sal grinned. Motivated competitors. Above them, through the restored holographic dome of the UN Hall. The stars seemed closer somehow, no longer distant points of light, but destinations awaiting human ingenuity. And perhaps worlds that needed warning about entertainment that cost too much. The 5 of them stood together, united by survival, transformed by challenge, their improvised tools, forbidden fire, and necessary weapons becoming symbols not just of human resistance, but of a moral imperative that transcended species. No sentient being was disposable entertainment, and humanity would make sure the galaxy learned that lesson, one way or another.